Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're broadcasting live from the studios here in Ontario, Canada. My name is Chanda Chilufya, and of course, we got a couple of topics that we need to talk about. Of course, this is a Redtagmedia podcast, and the reason for the podcast is to tackle, important topics that, of course, affect our country. And of course, we've had a couple of issues, and the most burning issues is the cut of the 50 million US aid in the health sector. I think that affects everybody. You don't need to be a medical doctor to be concerned, and you don't need to be an expert in these areas. So we'll be having these small little talks every once in a while, just discussing these issues. Of course, people are busy, they're doing their own family stuff, but we'll be having these issues, these topics once in a while. You join us by clicking the link. If you got contributions, professional contributions that you need to share to the public, and of course to the concerned citizens that are affected by this huge blow. And I think it's a wake-up call, all in all. It's a wake-up call, and of course that we will, discuss these things further with a lot of other individuals that are yet to join. In the meantime, we'll have just a little bit of some music while we wait for our guests, and we'll get into the topics. Okay. Fantastic, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, like I was saying, so let's just dive into it, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, health sector. Let's go back to the history. I think we all need to understand one thing: the history of drugs and you know the reasons why there's been shortages in all these years, the reason why there's been pufferage. I mean, this issue didn't start today. So this is not a today issue. It's not something that's caused by the UPND, by some politicians that think it's the UPND's fault that this is happening. I think we need to understand, as a scholar of world politics, we all know that with the inception of Trump as the new leader of the United States, he wants to cut down on costs in terms of aid that they give to developing countries like Zambia in particular, and so many other countries in the world. As you know, there's a trade war happening between the US, Canada, China, and the rest of the world. All these big powers are fighting. And it's all because of Trump's new policies. Now, Zambia is not an exception. It falls into that same diagram, and it falls into that same category of cutting down aid. So now South Africa was hit badly, was the first to be announced. And now Zambia, I think they were just trying to come in. In my own personal opinion, I felt like, look, if they looked at Zambia itself as it is, and they said, I think this is a way in which we can cut this aid by bringing up this topic. This topic is not today's topic in terms of drugs, pufferage, and so on and so forth. This has been happening for a very long time, way before the UPND government came into power. Now, looking at that brief history, we know that, of course, we've had some significant change since the UPND government came into power. We've had a lot of people, a lot of ministers moved from one ministry to the other, and certain measures have been taken, put in place, so that things like pufferage, at least if not reduced, at least it's not the way it used to be in the past. But all those things are not enough. So now what the current government is saying is, like, we need to go back to Parliament and present a bill that is going to make pufferage of drugs into a crime. Like, it's going to be real a crime, which will be equivalent to, like the minister said himself, murder. It's the same thing as murder. Because if you deny somebody who needs those vital drugs, and through all these deals, so that there's shortages in hospitals, and you go and pufferage that and go and resell them to the small pharmacies, and then you're killing that individual. Imagine the people that live deep down in the compounds, deep down in the villages, that need medicine for TB, for instance, that need medicine for malaria, that need medicine for ARVs, HIV and all that stuff. All these are essential drugs that need to be available at a hospital or at a clinic. But if those drugs are being diverted somewhere else and resold, and when an individual goes, or a Zambian goes to they go to the hospital, they give them a prescription. All they're going for is being diagnosed and given a prescription. And it's been a syndicate that has been happening for many, many years. Allegedly, some of the doctors own pharmacies. So they would prescribe you and even tell you where to go, allegedly. So these are issues that need to be dealt with and discussed. And hold on, I got somebody here that has joined us. Mr. Luswaniso. How are you doing?
No, I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing great. You're asking me that question will be tackled on a different date on the two things.
Because I'm like, what's going on here? Me, I don't know which is which here.
Uh-huh.
Kandagazia is in.
Mwashibuke ni bakazia. He must be
He's
fishing.
mute. He's on mute. He's muted himself.
Sorry. Nachira kufaka phone. So chachika monaka icon ka bring myself on. Thank you very much. I'm okay. Mulisha nina imoko.
How it prefer we know the weather at least ikulelo kako pano no tufula. Nishishi woko weather how it is there.
We also have a drizzle. The temperature is around 11 degrees. So it's better today.
Ah, okay, yeah, that's good. That's good to hear. But Danny, how's the weather there?
So it's beautiful.
27 degrees.
Yeah.
27 degrees throughout the year. It never goes below 20. Never. Never. When it comes to 22,
ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this podcast of today. I think we just have two topics really to tackle today, and we're not going to spend a lot of time in discussing everything, but we'll tackle some of the issues. And the most concerning one, of course, in my preamble, I indicated that the most concerning one is the cut of the medical aid from the US. And I was trying to give a background to say, how did all these things start? And is it because of the UPND government that the United States have decided to cut the aid all of a sudden? Or it's an issue that has been hanging around or has been there for a long time, and a lot of leaders have failed to really tackle it and nip it in the bud. So what do you think, maybe to start with Baliswaniso, what do you think the reasons why there's been all these pilferage in terms of drugs, and there hasn't been any control? Why have you failed to control it? Is this something difficult that cannot be done?
This topic in the first place, thank you very much for this opportunity. This is our first podcast, not so?
It's the first one, yes.
Yes, so it's let's hope it continues with the same positive approach to the issues facing our country. Yes, this problem of actually the whole last week, or this week I might say, has been centered on all the debates you see, radio stations, television stations, WhatsApp, and all that. They are all been discussing this same issue. The truth is, this issue has matured for a long period of time. Some of us didn't even know when ZAMSA, is it Zamra or ZAMSA, was formed. But because we've been away from home for a long time anyway. But the thing is, this thing started a long time ago, and it has been allowed to mature. And by maturing, when there's something like this, which is an illegal type of entity, if you allow an illegal entity to mature over years, it really refines, the system refines how to steal, so to speak, such that you can catch them. So it started a long time ago, and we've been trying to tackle it, but we've been failing. And by so doing, they have refined their methodology of stealing. All right. So it has become like a cartel. The people know who to report to and who to send the messages to, how to get the drugs, at what point to steal. It has been refined now because it has been left to mature for over 20 years. So we've brought in ZAMSA to try and solve the problem, but it looks like ZAMSA just made the problem even worse. Okay, So to me, my view is that we really need to take very bold actions on this one. I know the government has been changing directors for ZAMSA. Someone told me that they have changed 7 directors, whatever they are called, heads of ZAMSA in 3 years. 7 heads have been changed. To me, that's not enough. We need to do more than just simply swapping the head, removing the head of the organization. We need to go down and have to break those chains or the conveyor belt that is making this method run very smoothly. Okay, we have to break the cycle. Somewhere where if we break that cycle, things are not going to work. That's what we need to do. And the government has said they have started this. They have involved one of these accounting firms to do a forensic study, and the report is going to come. Is it?
No, it's already been done. It's actually been done by Swaniso. So the report
it was
been done.
Yeah, it was very confusing at first because we were told the report is coming and we're going to tell you. But now we've been told the report is there. So I don't know which one to believe now, because at first we were told the report is coming in December. Now we've been told the report is there. And then the American ambassador, whatever, was saying, I haven't received the report. So it was very conflicting. I don't know. Anyway, the government has involved the company to do a forensic study. I hope the report will cover, the forensic study will point out the real issues in this problem, and we need to deal with it now, and so that it ends. My only thing that I'm worried about is I hope this whole thing does not involve politicians, because if it involves politicians, the tendency is that they'll just push it under the rugs and then they keep quiet. We'll never hear about it. Okay, that's the tendency for politics. Political. If politicians are involved in a problem, you hear nothing. So I hope this is going to be transparent for the Zambians. We need this thing to stop so that Zambians can have medicines. All right. We've been changing heads of ministries. Bring this minister, that minister, this minister. Things continue being the same. I think we need to be serious about it. Let's take very bold steps and stop this. To me, the first thing we have to do is to remove this ZAMSA thing. It has to get out. Let's see whether we can do it without it, because having this organization between the Ministry of Health and it's just complicating matters. That's submit.
Mr. Kazia.
Radani, are you aware that the report was out in December? It is not that there is another report that is being awaited. The report was out in December. The president confirmed that. And he mentioned that Andrew Chibuye was the one from PricewaterhouseCoopers who did the forensic audit. So in terms of the report and who has done what, when, where, they have that report. Now, the US ambassador, when he spoke, he gave a precise duration and what has happened over the duration in question. What has just been worrying for me is that meeting 33 times and we still haven't resolved anything. And meeting 33 times, nothing came up until the ambassador decided to go public. And then when he goes public, then we verify him. We verify him to say, you should have followed the diplomatic channels and what. Then he comes back and says, wait a minute. There is a diplomatic note sent. There's a meeting sent. This has nothing happening. So like what Dan is saying, I, for one, I think that the politicians are involved. And it is high time the president took action And in the previous conversation that I had, I think I was having a chat with Dr. Kazil, and I said, if the president does not take action, now this is very clear. If he doesn't, then he's involved, because he can't fail to take action on such a grand scale of theft. You can't. He was very categorical from onset. He said, you involve yourself in violence, you're on your own. You involve yourself in corruption, you're on your own. Now, who is on his own in this theft? It's just totally unacceptable. We can't continue on this path. Even if it was there for 40 years or 100 years, there's a time we have to stop it. And we've had a chance to stop it. Maybe during my government, we didn't stop it. But UPN have a chance to stop it. And there's a president who actually came and said, yes, we're going to stop it. What has gone wrong? And like what Dan is saying, if we got rid of ZAMSA, what systems have we put in place that are going to be very strong? What legal framework are we going to put in? What procedures and processes are we going to put in so that there is one transparency, accountability, and immediate action when certain things are not done within the time frame? Now, moving Zamra off is not as easy. It's not as easy as it sounds, because you have to create a different system that respond to the current, global theft syndicates that are there. The procurement lines now, you can see when you're importing, you can clear goods from wherever. Now, all those things we must have a framework that should speak to that. And that is to say that certain things need to change. We must have a plan, and that plan must be shared. That plan must be clear. And then when we are moving away from Zamra, we are clear on what we want to do. This is not right. We need to take action. Submit.
Okay. So, but Danny, you mentioned on the report. So there was a meeting a couple of days ago between the Ministry of Information, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Health, and the partners, including the US, Egypt, and all the other partners that partner with Zambia in the health sector. So it was reviewed in that meeting that the report was done, yes, okay. Once it was done by a professional company, we know how professional the accounting is with Mr. Chibuye. They did their forensic. When that forensic report was done, it was handed over to the government. And they were revealing to say that report is now in the hands of the police and investigating agencies. And last week, the same report was given or availed to the ambassador. So he has it now. So as we're speaking, he has it. All the cooperating partners have the report. But we don't know what the details are, because this is a very sensitive issue, and it's a very complex issue. And of course, they try to iron out the issues in which he reported, saying all pharmacies. He gave a number, but he was corrected to say, look, there are some unregistered pharmacies, which are those in the informal sector, in the compounds, in the compounds, and those unregistered. And the system they used was just looking at the back, what they call the identifier mark or the numbers, manufacturing ID of those drugs, which anybody can go, even you, Bakazia, when you go to the same manufacturer, you can buy the same drug with the same number. It doesn't mean that came from the US batch. You see, because when the manufacturers are manufacturing, they just manufacture for everybody, So that's what happened. So they corrected them to say the techniques used, okay, were not accurate. That's why they had to involve, certain agencies so that they could go deep down and see who really is stealing, if there is, and who is the source. Because those are the small guys. I think that most people, they say to kill a snake, they have to chop off the head. Now that brings me to the next thing. Vakazia is saying if nothing is done, then the president is involved. I think that's something that's it's a weird accusation, really, because the president is doing what he can do as a president, and the president cannot be everywhere at the same time. That's why he has his soldiers. That's why he has all these ministers. He has given directive. His job is to give directive. He's given directive. There was a forensic investigation done. It's done. Complete. He's given instructions. Arrest everybody that's involved. Now it's the agencies to work. It's the ministers to work. It's them to do it. It's not him himself who should now stand and start knocking on people's door. Hey, you were involved in this. Come on, I'm arresting you. Oh, no. That's the president. So to say he's involved, I think that's a far-fetched idea that I think we shouldn't even tolerate or entertain. Let's talk about the direct people involved in these issues.
Yeah, I agree with you, Vachanda, when you say that we cannot give this responsibility of arresting and firing people by the president, because at that time, if you don't involve the investigative agents or appropriate ministries and stuff, we're gonna call him a dictator now. We're gonna say he's micromanaging stuff. So I think it's a good thing that this report has gone into the hands of the investigative teams. And
I think
action. Yeah.
I think you have twisted what I said.
Well, clear the air then. The air.
I'm going to clear the air. Part of action is sending the people to investigate and arrest. That is part of the presidential action. Part of the action is to know who was stealing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if nothing of that happens, that is why I said if action is not taken. I did not say that he's involved now. The president is the end. I said if he does not take action, the president never goes to investigate anywhere. It is not his responsibility. And we are preaching to the converted. I know that. But he is the ultimate person to issue that directive. He is the ultimate person to issue a dismissal to a minister or a permanent secretary who is involved in it. He has a jurisdiction which he plays. He has a role that he plays. So I'm not saying that the president will be in Kalingalinga investigating the pharmacy. No.
Okay.
I'm saying
the if is not there, the if is not there because he has already issued all those things. So the if is cancelled.
You see, the thing is, the report makes reference to the big fishes.
Have you seen it?
According to the ambassador. And by the way, if the ambassador said that, he was wrong, then distinguish what was the 50 million worth of drugs. Where is the 50 million worth of drugs? Did someone steal that? Or is it a made-up number? It never existed. Nobody has said the 50 million worth of drugs are missing. Nobody has said that is not correct. I've not heard the Minister of Health dispute that. I've not heard the Minister of Foreign Affairs dispute that. I've not heard the Minister of Home Affairs dispute that. Despite having this report from December, this is May, 5 months later. They have not disputed. They have disputed about the numbers. But what about the quantum of what has been lost? So there is more complex. You are right in terms of when you bring all these things. But then we need action. Trying to go after someone who has exposed the theft is missing the point. We must go back on the theft. And we must, because we are the Zambians that are stealing. We are stealing from our people. We must stop it. You understand? And all systems must point to who is stealing the drugs. And that person be made accountable. Remember, they threw in Nyasulu there. The minister actually said, as a result of the forensic whatever, we arrested this person. But when Nyasulu comes and says, no, wait a minute. I have nothing to do with what the minister says. He ended up suing the minister. And the attorney general to go and defend himself why he said that he was part of the people that were investigating for the stealing. So for me, when I say the president, I am giving a condition. It's a condition which, if it is fulfilled, my statement falls off. It doesn't make sense. It will not make any impact. But if it is not done, then I will stand by my statement. So it's not that the president currently is involved in anything. No, he's not. I'm not accusing the president of getting involved now.
Okay.
I'm saying his failure to act may signify that he might be part of it. And that is the accusation that he must be able to say, no, as your president, I am not, and I'm proving to you that I'm not. This is the actions I've taken. Because it was me as a citizen, that explanation.
Okay. So anyway, he doesn't need to do that because it's already been done. That's why
No, but don't answer on his behalf, Bachanda.
No, but that's what it is.
You can't answer on his behalf because you're not the president.
Vakazia, the report is in the hands of the police.
Who has been arrested?
The police now. They've arrested about 30 people already. They're going there.
The small fishes the US ambassador is talking about.
No, we don't know. We're like, does he know the exact names? Let him provide those names.
You see, now if I say he knows.
Okay. Vakazia, here's the bottom line. The bottom line is this. An action has been done, okay? And an action is being done. And on top of it all, next sitting, they're going to pass a bill that is going to make stealing of drugs to be a criminal offense. It will be unbearable from now going forward. So it's going to be a huge law that's going to be passed that's going to deter future people who will think that, oh, if I go in there, I'll just be, given a slack, because the laws surrounding how to prosecute people who steal drugs are a little bit weak. So they're going to strengthen them. So all those are actions.
Yeah, unless I see the law, Bachanda. You
so
see,
we cannot just be operating by just talking. We need to put in things in place legally. So that mundu ekabuka kese suinga government abo mwanjikete kwagula omulandu
I'm on the phone.
Mulandu loni ngatawaita ikonkere lo kukukaka. Okay. So those are the issues we need to be discussing. So the one all the law enforcement officers are on their ground. People have been arrested. People will soon be appearing in court, found guilty inside. A new law is being passed, and this one will be very, very strict.
But it is okay. The new law is being, but for now it's not passed. I'll have a conversation when it is passed. That's when I'll congratulate the process. For now, it's just a plan which can be shelved.
Yeah. So in any case, I think what we need also to look at is this: who is affected with all this? We need to think about people who need essential drugs. Okay, and this issue is hot now. It's not because it's the UPND government. It's not because niba these issues have been existing for a long time. Nothing has been done by what was done by the previous government. Now that we're doing something as the current government, I think a pat on the back will be done. But we're saying measures have been done, but they're not that good or they're not that strong. So that's why we're doing all these other things, passing laws and passing things. Ngavai emiti shiria abali kumushi abalefwa emiti sha TB balefwa emiti shamba ARVs nefia shala, all these diseases, they're being shortchanged, and it has been a practice for a long time. We know that some of these pharmacies allegedly are owned by doctors. Some of them, it's an alleged thing, and in most cases, that's why people were complaining at Ngawayako Hospital. Kukupela for prescription, bakulembera na pharmacy yako ya umuti. So there was a syndicate that was huge and big. So that's why all these ministries, health, internal affairs, all these other ministries, they've come together to put their heads together and say, let's put a stop to this. And now I think this should be a warning to everybody who's been stealing and depriving the poor people of Zambia. You know, the move that the United States did, I think maybe it's a good thing, right? Because it's going to make us start thinking on our toes. Like, what if the US, you know, they say, okay, that's it. Okay, because they are saying that they might bring it back or not, depending on the results of the investigations. They might decide, but looking at the way Trump is operating, I don't think he wants to give any aid to any developing countries. You know, there's a trade war already happening here in Canada, in the US, everywhere with the big powers. We all know that this is not a one country thing, a Zambia thing. It's a world. It's connected with the world politics, and Trump with his new policies. So that aside, we now need to start thinking on our toes. We need to start thinking within ourselves. You know, for instance, we've got the Sondashi formula that has been shelved for many years. It may sound like it's something that's not important, but it's a homegrown solution to start with. Okay, if it can just be properly packaged and processed, and start distributing it, because if it's been working all these years, why not give out a trial to I think people have been trying it for years and years, and most people that have used it are saying it works. So if it's a homegrown solution, we need to the government needs to find some sort of funding for an individual like Sondashi and give him a proper way, a proper manufacturing plant where he can produce those things, to start producing and distributing to the affected millions of Zambians. That being said, we now have new partners on the board. I don't know if you heard about this, but the government of India is going to build a world-class manufacturing plant in Zambia. Okay, that's going to be producing all essential drugs. So those are the actions, Bakazia, you're asking, because these cooperating partners are coming in. It's going to be a joint venture. So the government is investing, the government of India is investing, they're coming together, a huge state-of-the-art manufacturing plant for essential drugs.
For me, Walchand, I do not have a problem with any investment that is coming. I would love it obviously, I love it when I hear that it is a 50-50 partnership. I love to hear that. Mm-hmm. But, anything that is coming to be done in Zambia is okay. But also, for me, what the biggest, we can't have people stealing the way they are stealing. Mm-hmm. And then we want to go after someone who is exposing the stealing. Mm-hmm. And then we say, no, because we are dependent. Because even if they manufacture that in Zambia and the thieves are still there, they will still steal in the same way.
No, that's why Amalos,
Amalos kanobaya yatikamya bachanda. Ukulanda tibana bakwata mapange yako yatikamya na Amalos nafipusana.
That's why they're
going to the depth of ukutikamya tatuishi, betatulamona even a bill around it. What has just been saying are mere pronouncements, and pronouncements mean nothing unless you see the actual action. I am more interested. Hello?
Go ahead, I can hear you.
Yeah. Me, I'm more interested in the tangible actions. Not that tukwata amapange engi sana yobuteko buchita, but yamweta yaba fulfilled because yala chinja. So the issue for me is it's a big lesson, and there is a big fish. We want the big fish. I'm interested in seeing the big fish. Not to kula ikata ba secretary na ba malonda aba mutiro mwalala ndatina tuikata bengi sana awe. Someone high office, 64 containers went missing. How about 300 million worth of drugs? Yeah, disappear. Well, how did we find the Swasangwa good Betty Bridge? How did all those things happen? So for me, the forensic study, maybe they should publish it so that we see it. There's nothing that should be confidential because we are the people that pay for that medication.
No, they're going to publish it at a later stage. They can't publish it now because matters are in court.
You see, the other thing that is there, is that for me, and this is one of the things that has created a lot of stealing because we seem to be protecting criminals to the extent like at wish. But we can't publish the name because it will jeopardize
the investigation. If he's innocent, to be innocent. Because they're going to publish what a person did and what happened. Now we find the protection of, especially when it involves government people, politicians that are in office, like what Danny said, that when it involves politicians, they will do everything to drag it under. Because they are folk monekera. And if there is a report like that, it is published. If I'm there, I stole the medication, I must be found there. There's nothing good about hiding me. If anything, you're making me a hardcore. So I am a report that 5 months ago, no, it's a matter of no, we can't give you. Why didn't you give us before it went to court? So these are some of the things that the government must be able to stand up and root. Let's see what comes out of it. But if we see that if they are catching low-level end low-level end employees and other things, then we know exactly that what the ambassador was saying is correct. Because for me, I was shocked that the ambassador would jump in and say the things that he said. I was very shocked, by the way. I didn't expect that to happen. I did not expect that, knowing that channels of communication around the diplomatic community, they are very, very stringent in terms of processes. But when he comes and says 33 times, because I was like, how dare? My first reaction, and you can ask Dan, I said, how dare does an ambassador, where does he get that power to stand up and challenge government and us in that manner? Does it mean bali Mr. deny meetings? How can he just come and say things like that and make those wild accusations against government? Is he trying to destabilize our country? But then he comes and produces these things which people don't even argue about. Then I switch. I say, hey, wait a minute. The ambassador is right.
But Danny.
Yeah, as I said, for me, this is a result of, from a medical point of view, it's a result of letting cancer go to stage 5, and then you will say, let me cure it right now. I've told this to Kazia, this example to Kazia before. This is a result of inaction. When we see something coming up, let's tackle it there and then. Let's not wait until it has come this complex and very, very, very. Now this is almost an international cartel, I can tell you, because the stealing of these drugs is not starting in Zambia. It's starting from the source somewhere. So it has become so complex now because we have let it grow to this extent. Okay, it's very, very serious. So now to tackle it, we have to invest a lot of money and resources in this thing, because it has become so deep-rooted now to uproot it. So we have to learn something from this. But I know our government is doing its best. With this report, definitely we have to see some results out of this. But on the other hand, I also want to just echo my what can I say, my view on these drug issues, because we are doing this saying, oh, the drugs are missing in hospitals, there are no drugs. In the meantime, every politician that has a cold, a flu, or a bit of diarrhea, they are flown outside. Okay? And yet we are there saying, oh, we want drugs in the hospitals, and we're doing nothing. But in the meantime, it shows that politicians are not really caring about the availability of drugs in these hospitals. Because when they have a small little ailment, they are flown out. Okay, they are flown out. And for us, the ordinary Zambians are the ones who are supposed to die in UTH, where there are no drugs. This is not a good, the two should correlate. You should say, okay, we're fighting the pilfering of drugs, and politicians will also be treated in UTH. But for you to say we're fighting the availability of drugs in hospitals, and in the meantime, you don't go to that hospital, to me, it's a little bit of, it's like, oh, I'm cooking for you food, but you don't want to eat that food. The food you want to cook for somebody, you don't want to eat it, but you want to cook for somebody. So there's a little bit of I lose trust in such type of talk, in the sense that you're saying, oh yeah, we want drugs to be available, we want drugs to be available, but you don't go to those hospitals yourselves. This is what that's what are these politicians really, do they really mean it when they say they want drugs to be available for us, when themselves they have never stepped their foot in those hospitals? Never. Every politician that gets sick never goes to UTH. Never. If a politician dies in UTH, there will be an outcry. Why did they evacuate him? Why? So it's like it has become normal that it's only ordinary people that should go in UTH without medicines there, but politicians should never step their foot in UTH. One of my cousins was telling me, oh my goodness, I saw a minister in UTH. He's sick. He was in the. Oh, it was I was saying, wow, this is embarrassing. A minister in UTH? I said, you see, as Zambians as well, we have taken it as a normal thing to say lack of drugs, poor health facilities are for us ordinary. When you see a minister going to be treated in UTH, everyone will be getting selfies with him and say, oh my goodness, this is abnormal. This is abnormal. Because we don't expect them to go to UTH. We expect them to be in South Africa or India, So it's wrong. So the actions that we are taking about the pilfering of these drugs should also be matched with the people that are fighting this to be treated in those same hospitals where we are talking about these drugs being available. It doesn't make sense. As I said, you're cooking food for somebody. Oh, I'm cooking food for you, but I'm not going to eat it. I'm going to eat this food I'm cooking for you. I'm not going to eat it. So you are not genuine in that sense. So please, politicians, if you are listening, let's fight this stealing of drugs. Let's have drugs in our hospitals, and you yourselves should also be treated in those same hospitals.
That's a point. That's a very good point by Danny. I think most of the politicians out there going overseas or going abroad, it's just more like a holiday, to be honest, because most of the ailments that they're suffering from can be treated within Zambia.
Yeah. And it costs a lot of money. It costs the taxpayer a lot of money.
And they're trying to put the government into ransom to say, no, that politician should be flying to South Africa, to India, to what? Like, look, they can be treated within. What difference is it going to make whether they fly them there or not? I mean, if it's your time, it's your time. God, if God wants to take you, God will take you, whether you're in South Africa or you're in Zambia or wherever, unless you have those complicated, ailments that none of the health institutions can handle in Zambia. And then yes, but what if a BP at you fly him over to South Africa because he's a politician, and if the government doesn't do it, then they'll look bad. That's putting the government at ransom.
It's not only the current politicians. As long as you are a politician in the government, even in 1964, if you are sick today, the people start saying, take him to South Africa. Take him to that. As long as you are a politician at one time, the government will spend so much money to evacuate you. It's unfair to the citizens. Very unfair. And yet we're saying we're fighting we want drugs in the hospital, and yet you don't go to those same hospitals. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. So I think we've tackled these two topics that I wanted us to tackle. Today it's just going to be a short one. In the meantime, if there are some other issues that you guys want to discuss, we can discuss it, and then as we close in the few minutes from now, so that we go do other things. So, Bakazia, do you have any other topics, or you want to, give your concluding remarks? And of course,
I think I would say that probably my concluding remarks would be like, it's a good wake-up call for us, I think, as Zambia, and also a good wake-up call for government to make sure that they work at the systems. But before they change the law, before they do that, please let them do a thorough kind of check, especially in as far as the policy is concerned, so that the policy and the legal framework speak to each other, not leaving gaps in terms of what should be done.
Yeah, they have a mammoth task ahead of them, and also to make sure that the production of medication can be, achieved as quickly as possible. And we keep improving our systems. That is what is important. And also that people that are stealing, please, there should be nothing like people, politicizing people in terms of who to arrest. If a person is from previous government is stealing, and the person who is from the current government stealing, both must be treated in the same way in terms of making sure that we stop that from a point of view of fair justice system. I am hoping to see a quick resolution and a quick report around the issues to do with medicine. This is quite big, and I hope the government does its best to make sure that things get back on track. That's my concluding remarks, Wachana.
Okay, but Danny, your concluding remarks?
To me, the importation of drugs into our country has become so complex, and it's being infiltrated by bad elements. And as I said, this has become maybe an international cartel whereby it's coming, wherever the drugs are coming from, already things start going wrong from the beginning. By the time they arrive in Zambia, things have already been stolen, really. So the main thing here, we have to be looking at our own production lines of these medications. And I'm very, very happy to see the efforts the government is doing. I know the government has signed through Industrial Development Corporation, I think it was last year, they signed a memorandum of understanding to manufacture vaccines, cholera vaccines to be in particular, with China, I think. And recently they signed another memorandum of understanding building a pharmaceutical company in Zambia with an Indian companies. I think there were 3 or 4 companies that will come and start building that. And our president was in Egypt the other time. He has also made arrangements with Egyptian pharmaceutical groups there to come to Zambia and start making medical. So I think if we follow up on these efforts that the current government is doing, I think in the next few years we should be fine. And I think that's the ultimate goal we should have, is to start making our essential drugs within our country, other than this importation methodology, which is being abused by a few. So the kudos to the government for the efforts they're making towards the self-reliance, so to speak, of us making our own drugs within our country. I think it's a good move, and we just hope they follow it up and make sure these ideas or agreements come to fruition. That's all I can say.
Thank you. Yeah. So with me, I think I can agree with everybody, with all your contributions. I think the bottom line is action, and more action for all the perpetrators that are, denying Zambian families these most essential drugs. They should face the law, and they should be punished, accordingly, and so that other perpetrators should start fearing now. From now going forward, they should say, look, if I do this, I'm going to end up like the other person. And like everybody's putting out ideas, let's protect these drugs from the source, from the manufacturer until it arrives in Zambia. And, from distribution point, from the warehouse there, when it starts going into the hospitals, we should know, like, this truck, this driver, the quantity is this. There should be somebody at the other end again to say, yes, I've received. If there's a discrepancy, then we know where to start from. This truck was driven by this guy. The person that received it is this one. What happened? You guys must have been conniving, because if you're falsifying records, it's easy to come and audit these hospitals to say, look, you're falsifying documents. You're saying you've received 10 cases when you've only received 5, and the 5 you go and sell. So they need to, really, really go into these, institutions, hospitals, from distribution point to from the manufacturing point, until we find a solution. We clamp, where the problem is, and find a lasting solution, so that, and those individuals involved, if they're found guilty, they should face the long arm of the law. And so that's going to deter most, and it's good that they're going to pass a law that's going to strengthen and making sure that, you know, like stealing drugs is equivalent to murder. Like it's going to be unbearable. So you cannot just go, they arrest you, you're out on bail. This one will be unbearable now. And, you know, once you're in, you're going in for a long time without labor, you know. So those are the steps that the current government is doing, really. And I think it's a positive move. Yes, the U.S. Government, we all know world politics, they're cutting that aid. I don't see them, you know, reversing their decision, because I think, you know, Trump at the trajectory that is moving on right now is he just wants to cut on these aids, and you know, he's saying he can use that money locally and improve the American. They've got the right to do that, but of course, we're seeing other partners. Egypt has reconfirmed to say yes, we are, you know, coming to Zambia to invest as partners. You know, India as well. China very soon is going to come on board. So US is just one country, but we've got other, you know, cooperating partners that are willing to work with us, you know, and we need to step our game up and also find other solutions that we can use locally. Even the local medicines, like I said, the sondashifobia and all that, let's put them there. Let's, you know, finalize that. You know, it's been on trial for a long time now. When are they going to give us a report whether it works or not? I mean, it's not that complicated. You know, let's give ourselves something that's Zambian as well, and while we also work on these other issues, you know. But in a nutshell, thank you, Mashina, but Azia, but Danny, for joining us. I will be selecting a few topics that we can discuss. You know, not too many topics here. We just want to be doing maybe 1 or 2 topics. That's it. We discuss, and then we move on. But otherwise, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. We'll see you at a different time, same time next week, and we'll obviously tackle a different topic. Thank you, and have yourself a lovely. Oh, it's a long weekend, Kuno. It's a long weekend, so yeah. So thank you very much, guys. Have a blessed day.
All right, thank you very much, Watan.
Okay.